Okay, today I want to take a look at these mass shooters. So let's try to figure out what is going on. Are these people broken? Is it the world that's broken? And these people are a product of the world? Like, what is happening here? So I know there's a bunch of different possibilities for motives in a bunch of different situations. Um, but let's just see if we can get a general look at the deal with these mass shooters. Now, I tried to do this reading yesterday, and I tried it 3 times, and either there's a veil over this situation, or truly what the shooters go through doesn't make any fucking sense, because none of the readings made any sense at all. At least they didn't seem to show anything that would push a person toward doing what they did in any logical sense, and this reading might turn out to be that way too. And if that's the case, we're just going to roll with it and say that what happens to them doesn't make any fucking sense. Now, the root card is the reverse fool. And the fool is the beginning of a new chapter of life. It's about being open and having no fear and no expectations. Now, the fool reversed is when there might be a new chapter of your life, but there's so much fear and expectation that you don't really see what is there. Um, Now, that is underneath a Seven of Wands. Now, in this situation, the Seven of Wands is like trying to get out of a restrictive situation of some kind and just continuing to move forward. Now, when the person in the Seven has a root card of a reverse fool, they might get out of the restriction that they were in, but they're so used to seeing it that they might see it anyway, even when they're out of it. Now, because the energy is moving this way, we're going to put one here to see, sort of what happens before and where this energy goes to. Yeah. Now, this is starting to look like the readings from yesterday, where these things don't make any logical sense. Now, here the restriction. The restriction that they would be stuck in shows us the sun. And the sun is generally about freedom, um, and openness and acceptance. If there's any common link here, it's just a lack of openness and a lack of seeing what is actually around you. Um, but here, the restriction shows as openness and honesty. And this moves forward to a Four of Swords. Um, the Four of Swords being like trying to gain some sort of mental separation, right? And maybe through these acts they feel like they can separate mentally from whatever it is that tortures them. Um, and usually they end up dead, right? So that does normally happen. I'm trying to think of a different way to pose a question here. What I'm going to do is try to look very specifically at the person who did the fucking thing in Texas a couple days ago. And let's just see what was going on there. And we get a Page of Wands. And I mean, the Page of Wands is a child, and they did kill a bunch of children. But the Page of Wands is about someone who is kind of uniquely creative, and they do things differently than everybody else. Now, in the readings that didn't make any sense that I did yesterday, there was a little bit of a thread of creativity in a world that wouldn't allow creativity. The creativity showing up in a world where the person could never gain abundance through creativity, and normally that doesn't make someone murder children, but that was a theme that showed up sort of in the readings yesterday. These fucking readings are really weird. It's like there's a veil over this situation, or what they go through just doesn't make any sense. You know, it doesn't make any sense according to what a person normally goes through. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to collect these because nothing in there is showing the kind of suffering or, manipulation or like fucking anguish or anything like that that would lead a person to murder a bunch of children. So what I want to do is look at their environments, and let's see if there is a factor in their environments that would lead them to do this. So let's just. Well, the root card is the world. So maybe the environment is the whole world. Well, there's the abundance card. Now that showed up in the weird readings from yesterday. So, in their environment. So, what is the world saying? I mean, it could be the whole world, right? But this is one thing that I've considered in these deals. Like, most of the people who do this are younger people. And young people are told all through school that they have no future, right? There's not going to be, there won't be social security for them. Global warming is going to keep them from being able to do anything anyway because the world is going to go to shit. And the world is the last card of tarot, and it shows an ending. So this could be just the ending of the stage of creation that they were born into. This doesn't necessarily show hopelessness or anything, but it does show sort of an ending of a journey. And I think it is not good to teach children that they have no future. I think that is a fundamentally bad thing. And when you have no hope, then you can do really terrible things because it doesn't fucking matter. Now, here this is the main card is the Nine of Pentacles. And the Nine of Pentacles is abundance, it's material stuff. And I mean, you could read this as just the material cash world, well, cash isn't going to be used much anymore, but the material world. Like, you gotta fucking spend the money and get the things. And it could come at a complete loss of any sort of spiritual understanding, right? Especially in a world where this is kind of all that matters, and everyone is told that they will never have this, that they can't have it anymore. Even if they do manage to get rich, that climate change is gonna fucking destroy the earth anyway, so it wouldn't matter. So let's just try to find out more about this because it doesn't seem like materialism itself would do this. The Temperance card. Huh. Well, the Temperance card, and this did show up yesterday too in those readings that made no sense, but the Temperance card was basically showing theoretically greater understanding and patience, right? This is blending a couple different things So you kind of gain the understanding of both things, creating a new thing here. Generally, the Temperance card is about understanding, patience, all of that, greater perspective, which it seems that these people have literally none of, right? They have literally no greater perspective. And on the other side is the moon reversed. So here, the moon is manipulation. And connected with this Nine of Pentacles, it would be sort of the manipulation of the modern world. When the moon gets turned upside down, this is manipulation that is so great that the person sort of has to realize that they're being manipulated. It just gets so strong. It's no longer subtle, right? It's very powerful manipulation. Now, I'm going to pull another card on this Temperance because I honestly don't get it. With the reverse moon, that makes sense to me because, today's world, there's lots of manipulation, fucking media, and like whatever, and really, we are still going through the first generations of people that have had smartphones, that have had access to internet. Like I am from the first generation that played video games from the time they were a child, But I wasn't playing Grand Theft Auto as a child because that shit didn't exist then. I was playing fucking Pong as a child. So that might be a part of the manipulation. And as ultimately, as far as that goes, time will tell. Um, when we go through the generations, and we'll either find out that that shit doesn't have an effect, which of course it does, or the extent to what effect it has. But let's pull something else on this Temperance card because it doesn't necessarily make any sense to me, and we get a reversed Three of Cups. The reverse Three of Cups is when a whole bunch of people are going through something that is emotionally pretty bad. They're all getting swallowed by the fish there. Now, how does that relate to Temperance is anybody's guess. Huh. There might be something actually about the water in here because, I mean, in the Temperance card, she is pouring the water back and forth. And then just as I'm looking at this three, we have, the water pouring out of the cup. So there might be some sort of like poisonous effect in the fucking water, which I guess wouldn't really surprise me. Um, there's been a bunch of different readings that have kind of shown that that might be the case. I'm going to pull one more on this Temperance card just because what we're actually looking at here is the environment. So blending two different somethings, how could that feed into this, And we get an Eight of Wands and the Eight of Wands. This is like harvesting energy that has been growing and growing. Now, in the case of these incidents, this would be consistent with having a plan that has grown and grown and grown, and then one day you just decide that you're going to do that plan. Um, we do have the scythe there, so this is about a reaping, but this isn't the death card or any of the, really disruptive cards that would show that. Uh, wow. There seems to be some sort of veil around these situations, and I have yet to be able to completely penetrate that veil with tarot readings. This one, which at the end of this, I would say, I don't think it made the most sense. This is my fourth attempt at trying to get a cohesive reading when it comes to mass shooters. And at the end of this, what I can really say is I believe that what they go through doesn't make any fucking sense. You know, there isn't really logic in there, but that seems true. I'm gonna pull one more card, and whoop, it just fell out. What I wanted to do was look at the spiritual nature of these people, right? And the card that just flew out was a Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles is not a spiritual card at all. The Knight of Pentacles is very mundane and material. So that would kind of bounce off this Nine of Pentacles, which is all about abundance. The Knight of Pentacles is just about going through the same pattern over and over again, and just sort of creating stability. But as far as spiritually, what's happening in the Knight of Pentacles isn't too much because they're very mundane and material, and it's not the opposite quite of spirituality. But this isn't about being spiritual; it's about being material. Um, and maybe this is some side effect of just having a very materialistic world. But I feel like the world has been materialistic for a while, and this hasn't been a thing. You know, this wasn't a thing really until about 20 years ago. I'm going to pull one more card because my actual um, intuition, we'll say, tells me that the medications that people take, I mean, it's pretty much known that the medications that people take have sometimes very rare side effects, but with how many fucking people are taking these brain medications, you know, they're not. If you go by the numbers, this might be inevitable. So let's just see how the medication plays into this. And we get the Two of Swords. Now, usually the Two of Swords is about having like a deadlock in your head. So if a person with a plan for one of these things, if the Two of Swords showed up for them, they would be so busy fighting themselves that they wouldn't necessarily do anything out in the world. It's an internal lock. But this card also showed up in the readings yesterday, and I'm thinking that what's actually happening in this too is it's literally showing like the uh, the personality maybe, or like the person basically splitting into two people. And I don't believe that the light and dark necessarily mean, you know, anything here. Like it's not like a good side and an evil side. I think it's just the fact that there are two of them. um huh but time will tell on this stuff. You know, is it going to continue to increase? It seems like it is. And my suspicion still is that the medications play a huge role in this, and you never really hear the news channels talk about what medications these fuckers were on. But I think that's probably a part of it. And here, I mean, the one thing I would really take out of this is that uh, so much materialism without any spiritual, and the only emotional card that shows up is one that is about um, basically being drowned, you know, in like a bad way emotionally. But materialism and only negative emotions might cause this to happen. I would love to hear anybody's ideas of anything you've seen here which maybe I didn't pick up on, or maybe different ways to look at this, because there's a fucking smoky veil around this, and I'm having a tough time getting through it. But that's what we have for today. Peace.